I'm Martin Bass, head and chair of the Control Institute at the Technical University Munich, mainly interested in control, human-machine interaction, haptics, telepresence, telemanipulation, and control theory. On the basis, this is control theory, and on top of that we have a variety of interesting applications, one of them being telepresence, others haptic interaction in virtual environments, multimodal interaction, medical applications like rehabilitation engineering, where we are interested in neuroprosthesis to make people walk again or help them walk, and other things. Well, as we all know, its presence is the sense of being there, and this there is more complicated there. It can be a virtual environment, virtual reality, but it also can of course be a real environment, which is in the case in telepresence applications where you have a remote environment which is not accessible so easily, and it can also be in the same room. So it's different environments where we can be present in. It's a wide field ranging from neuroscience to psychology to computer science, engineering, of course, mathematics, and more system theory. I absolutely agree, it's a wide area, but there is focus. So presence in itself is the sense of being there, and this is the focus among all activities in this area. It's both. You need technology to convey this feeling of immersion, presence, of the feeling of being there. And of course it's science, it's fundamental science. As I said, neuroscience, psychology, fundamental findings are needed to make this happen. This sense of being there, this sense of presence, needs both fundamental science and technology. Well, as it lives from many other sciences and disciplines, it's an interdisciplinary field, so you cannot really place it into one faculty better than in the other. I was a PhD student at the University of Tokyo, and I started to work in the area of manipulation skill in robotic hands. So we studied multi-fingered robotic hands, very much like the human hand. And we were interested in acquiring manipulation skill from humans to transfer this skill to robots, to robot hands. And as it turned out at the time, this was a very difficult area because the technology was not readily available. Mechatronics was just in the beginning. So it turned out to be very difficult. And this made me move in the area of teleoperation, where you take away the autonomy of the robot and have it remote controlled. So the difficult tasks, the task decision making, all that is done by the human. And the human uses an interface to control the robot, which is the sense of telepresence. And by going in this direction, I got interested in the human system interface part and eventually in haptics. Well, it's still exciting. So we see a lot of technology coming up, computer graphics, more computing power, more computing resources for more realistic 3D visual, audio-visual experiences, and as well as more mechatronics in the area. In particular, what I'm focusing on these days in haptics, mechatronics technology is becoming really powerful to display high-fidelity haptic feedback to humans. Well, there's already a lot of applications, in particular in the medical area, where you look at virtual realities with haptic feedback for, say, virtual pathology. This is one of the biggest problems in medical education I hear from my medical colleagues, is that you have huge classes of students, medical students, and but very little, a very low number of subjects to study, bodies to study. And people in Switzerland, for example, and also in the United States are pushing very hard to, in this area of virtual reality meets medicine. So in medical applications, I believe we will see in the very near future, we will see a lot of applications where presence, multimodal presence in virtual environments, in digital modeling of human bodies and organs will become one of the key enablers in that area. Other than that, I would say that a number of applications in psychotherapy are fairly successful as far as I know. I'd love to see haptic music instruments and arts. So personally, I'm really getting interested right now with a colleague and friend in the United States who is interested in a robot musician. So he's trying to have robot play drums in a band. So it's actually that the robot looks at you as you being a band member, and the band member looks back, and we do music together, me being the robot, you being the real human musician. And actually I'd like to see in the very near future in my lab, and I've already talked to some of my students, so I'd like to see more arts and music coming to the field of haptics. Well, certainly if you do studies, psychophysical or psychological evaluation studies with a lot of human subjects, it's very important to keep ethical, the ethical standards very high. So it's usually about the data. There's different rules in different countries, but usually you have to keep the data confidential, and that's one of the rules, just to give an example. But other than that, I mean, yeah, of course there are ethical issues if you go to really brutal computer games. There are a lot of ethical issues. They're already being discussed, so we may have a problem already in this society. You just have to be careful, basically, I guess. I'd say the computing power is still short of being there, what we need. So it's coming along, but still maybe 5 to 10 years away from what we really need. But there's the technological needs are not really that important. Maybe it's more important to change the ways we can program the systems. So right now the engineering and programming effort goes into software writing, which is very expensive, very tedious, and maybe we need other ways to assemble and program these systems. Music. Yeah, well, as I said, music, haptic musical instruments. I'd like to do that. If I was a grad student again. Yeah, we're already seeing that. So if you have a look at people getting involved in spaces like secondlife.com and other things, we already have problems, people losing touch to the real world. You can particularly see that in Japan, where you call these people, there's a Japanese term for that, which doesn't come to mind at the moment. I have to think about that. So it's somewhat like a nerd or techie or something like that. Techie is one of the English words, I know, but otaki is the Japanese word. No, otaki. Otaki. It means a specialist, for example, in computers, or a specialist in computer games, or a specialist in Second Life, or whatever. Otaki is very famous. No. No. Well, it's actually what I believe drives most scientists is the question to produce new knowledge. I mean, that's the endeavor of science, to produce new knowledge for everybody, and that's what drives us. What's next?